following on from the previous video, we got to this stage here where we jumped from here to here. But we now need to understand what's going on here. So suppose you have, hang on. Suppose you so looking at this, suppose you have an alternating series looking something like this. So n could be anywhere. N could be here, 1, 2. N could be anywhere. So let's just say n is right here. Let's just say n is right here. So an here. So this here is our an. So an is always trapped in between the positive version and the negative version. So from here we then jump to here by adding absolute an to here. So minus absolute an plus absolute an will then give you 0. And looking at this middle bit here, if you add absolute an, so that will then give you an plus absolute an, which makes sense because here if you add absolute an, it will give you an plus absolute an. And then if you add absolute an here, that will then give you two lots of absolute an. But let's try and understand what's going on here. So that will then take you to here. So normally you have an alternating series looking something like this. But let's just look at a simple version. Let's look at the sine graph. So this is your sine graph. Suppose we are looking at this n here. An happens to be here. So let's just say this here is let's say this here is, I know sine is between -1 and 1, but let's just imagine this is -3. So this here is -3. So an here is your -3, but then you add the magnitude. Well, the magnitude of this is +3. If you so hang on, let's start again here. So let's look at the simple version. Let's look at sine. So let's look at sine. So let's look at right here. So let's just pretend this bit here is -3. We know sine is between -1 and 1, but let's just pretend it's -3. So an here is -3, and then you add the magnitude. The magnitude is this bit here, which is +3. So when you have -3 here, and then you add the magnitude, that will then take you to 0. If you're let's say if you're here, let me clear this. So now it's looking at this sine here. Sine looks something like this. So earlier it was -3, but then let's say you're here at negative. Let's say -5. At -5. So here an here would be -5. So our an here is -5, and then you add the magnitude. Well, the magnitude here is +5. So when you add the magnitude, it would be -5 plus 5, which would take you back to 0. So when you look at this example here, if you look at what's happening here, well, here it's -3, and then you add 3, that will then take you back to 0. Here is -5, and then you add 5, that will then take you back to 0. Here it's -7, and then you add the magnitude, which will be +7. It will then take you back to 0. Here it's -6, say, and then you add the magnitude, which will take you back to 0. Here it's blah blah blah, and then it takes you back to 0. Here it takes you back to 0. Okay, let's look at this bit here. So basically, if you get a graph plotter and plot sine x plus the absolute here, it will look like this. Earlier, well, it would be 0 here, it would be 0 here, it would be 0 here, and then let's go back and have a look at this. Hang on. So now let's look at the sine here. Sine. So suppose here is positive. Let's say well, if you think about it, hang on, let me clear this. Let's say sine graph. Let's say this here is 1. So when it's positive 1, and then you add the magnitude, so it's a 1. so we'll get stretched to 2. And then if you look at this here, hang on, if if you look at sine here, if this here is, let's say this is 3 here, an is 3, and then you add the absolute, you add the magnitude, that will then take you to 6. So the point here is that, hang on, bear with me, I'm jumping about, bear with me, hang on. So your sine graph looks like this. So 1, so imagine this here is 1 now. 1, that will then take you to 2. This here is let's say 0.3, that double that. Well, when you so an here is let's say this here is 0.3, and then you add the magnitude, which happens to be 0.3, so it will be twice as much. So this bit here, well, as it turns out, when it's positive, the magnitude, well, it will take you up here, but when you're in the negative realm, it takes you to 0. When you're in the positive realm, it doubles there, and then when you're in the negative realm, well, I hope you can follow what I'm trying to illustrate here. But if you get a graph plotter, remember, we are trying to understand this. If you get a graph plotter and do this, get a graph plotter and plot this, it will then give you this. 0 here, and then don't forget, normally sine is 1, but then it gets doubled here because you're in the positive realm. And then, well, if you get a graph plotter and plot this, it will then give you this. But then if you get a graph plotter and plot this, so you add the magnitude and then you take away the magnitude, it will look like your normal sine graph. So hang on, yeah, I hope you can follow what's going on here. So but the reason why we're doing this is because, hang on, the reason why we're doing this is because this here will be positive. It will be positive. So later on we can apply the direct comparison test. So but bear in mind, hang on. So remember this thing. Well, I hope you can follow what's going on. I will continue in the next video.